Hi, I'm Claire Tompkins, the Clutter Coach, and this is the Organize Your Life podcast. I am passionate about organizing because it makes my clients' lives so much easier, more relaxed, and with more time to spend the way they want to. In every podcast in the show, I'll lay out a simple organizing concept, and I'll tell you why it's important. I'll also include an action step at the end so you can start practicing right away. My specialty is chunking down this big topic so it's not overwhelming. That's the concept for this podcast, which is based on my first book, 52 Simple Ways to Get Organized. The book is available on my website and on Amazon. I work with clients in person in the Berkeley, California area and via email and Skype, so you don't have to be local to me. Visit the Hire tab on my website or email me at claire@cluttercoach.net. If you like the show, please rate it and review it. To do that, go to my website, cluttercoach.net, and scroll down for the show notes. Each show notes post has a link to leave a review in iTunes. I would so appreciate that. Okay, on to the podcast. I talked to a coach today about being part of her next event, which is about self-worth. She thought I would be a good fit since I often tell my clients that where there's physical clutter, there's mental or emotional clutter behind it. Exactly. So, my podcast today is about that topic. This is podcast 47, and it's called Dealing with Emotional Clutter. It's not part of my book. The very first podcast of my show last summer was about the emotional cost of clutter. Today I'll talk about other aspects of that topic. There's a pretty long list of reasons that clutter accumulates. Here are some. You have a basement full of stuff that you inherited. You don't really like it. It's not your style or the right size, or you just plain don't need it or have room for it. But you feel bad. It feels bad not to want the things that your parents or your grandparents treasured and saved for you. You feel guilty for not having it in the house. You can't seem to get rid of it, so it stays there and it causes you grief. Or you have a guest room closet full of clothes that are too small. They used to fit. You love them, or you certainly love the way you looked and felt back when you could wear them. You've lost weight recently, but not quite enough. Having the clothes around inspires you to lose more. Or does it? It might simply make you feel bad about the weight you are now. When you think of how long those clothes have been hanging in there, you feel like a failure. Or you've got a perfectly good exercise bike in the garage. It was in the family room for a few years until it became clear that it was mainly a spot to hang things off the handlebars or to stack things next to. It actually was in the way, considering that it never got used. But you couldn't get rid of it. It was expensive, for one thing, and it has come to symbolize getting into shape for you. If you got rid of it, you'd have to admit that you were never going to get in shape. Wow, that's a heavy bunch of trips to lay on yourself because of a handful of inert physical objects. You understand, of course, that they're just things. They have no agenda, no hidden meaning. If they evoke anything for you, it comes from somewhere else. So, what can you do about this? I believe the best way to combat emotional clutter is to shift your focus from the past to the present or the future. Often when I see clients for the first time, they're thrilled that I'm going to help them get past this problem. But they're also filled with negative emotions about why they needed to call me at all. If they had just set aside a few months of Saturdays or all their vacation time, they could have handled the issue. Whether that's true or not doesn't really matter. The fact is, they didn't do that. But now they've taken the step to work with me. That means we're moving forward. They've taken action on a project that has a lot of meaning for them. I tell them, more than once if necessary, that whatever happened before is in the past, and now we're in the present. We're moving toward the future. They've made a new decision, and I'm here to help them make that a reality. For all you at home, I urge you to embrace that. If you're listening to this show and it strikes a chord, you're ready to take action. Take that action now. Take it with what you know now. Don't wait for the perfect time. Also, embrace who you are now and the life you're living now. Unless you do that, you're at risk of being drowned in the grief, regret, fear, and anxiety that gets dredged up. If you spend all your time trying to fix the past, you aren't living in the present. When you shift your gaze away from the past, you'll see how incredible your present is and actually be able to enjoy it. I'm not saying you should suppress those feelings, but let yourself make progress and appreciate it so that you can withstand those feelings better. Have compassion for yourself because we're all in the same human boat. There's a difference between items that evoke strong feelings, good or bad, and those that just make you feel like crap. One client told me she wanted to keep her divorce documents because she knew she was a better, stronger person having lived through an extremely difficult court case. That's quite different from saving a card from someone who wrote about what a terrible person you are, or that he thinks you are. What you can do next. I don't want to make light of this because it's a deeper subject than my usual podcast. But start being compassionate with yourself. Remind yourself daily that you're moving forward towards something better and the past is behind you. Hey, thanks for listening. I'm Claire Tompkins, the Clutter Coach. If you like the show, I'd love it if you'd leave a rating and review in iTunes. You can subscribe, too, so the podcast will be ready and waiting for you to listen to. You'll find the show notes on my blog at www.cluttercoach.net, and you can check out my store to find books I've written and a whole bunch of other stuff. If you're a fan of the show, you can become a patron on patreon.com for as little as $1 a month. You can find my page by going to the Patreon website, that's Patreon, and searching on Clutter Coach. I'll still post the podcast free of charge, but I've got some cool rewards for folks who want to help me make the show even better. Come back next week for a new podcast.